Basically, when you hear somebody talk about factoring, it's you may be dividing out factors. So if I had something like 2x squared plus 6, how many terms do we have? 2. So what do the two terms have in common? A factor of 2. So we could factor out a 2. What happens when I factor the 2 away from x squared? What's left behind? And remember, we're dividing, so x squared. When I factor a 2 away from the 6, what are we left with? What's 6 divided by 2?
3.
Okay? So that's one form of factoring. Or, the important one that we really work on now is finding the factors of polynomials. Polynomials. So we'll work on this example next. So, remember, polynomial is talking about taking terms, more than one term. So this is a quadratic, it's got 3 terms. Now we're going to find the factors that make this polynomial. One of the things I want you to understand is that your leading coefficient is 1. When that leading coefficient is 1, your life is much, much easier. So we're going to put 2 sets of parentheses down. Because my leading coefficient is 1, how can you guys multiply 2 things together to get x squared? X and x. That's kind of what makes your life easier. Also, when it's a 1 out front, the factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Of those sets of factors, which one would have the ability, remember when we did the OI yesterday? The outside and the inside piece, they were like terms. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Which one could add up to 7?
3 and 4.
The 3 and the 4. So let's put those in. And one of the last things you want to look at.
3 and 3.
Yeah, that happens. 3 and 4. Thank you. That number at the end. When that number is positive, it means both of these have the same sign. They're both negative or they're both positive, right? Because one of the last things you'll do is take 3 times 4 to get your 12. So it has to be negative 3 times negative 4 or positive 3 times positive 4. How are you going to add up this positive 7x if they're both positive? And that is the factoring. Those 2 things multiply to get me back to the quadratic. Given the quadratic, can you come up with the 2 factors? We want the ability to go back and forth. Okay? My leading coefficient's 1 again.
Now we got
So I'm able to just throw x and x in there. Factors of 9 are 1 and 9, 3 and 3. 1 and 9, 3 and 3. Which one has the ability to get to the negative 10? The 1 and 9, right? So 1 and 9. What does that positive number tell me again? What does the positive tell us?
Must multiply to become positive.
They both have to have the same sign. Because you end up taking the 1 times 9 to get 9. So it's either positive 9, positive 1, or -1, -9. Which one can add up to -10? Make them both negative. So part of this will be understand what your factors are. Now, part of what makes this difficult for students is that some of you aren't very good at factoring numbers. You know, your multiplication tables aren't quite there. So you gotta remind yourself, get back into that. Some of this is guess and check. And the faster you can do some of this math in your head, the better you'll be. So I want you guys to look at 3 quickly with somebody sitting near you. Get your factors. X squared. I can do an x and an x. 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. Which one, you know, they all multiply. So whatever I put in these 2 positions will multiply to give me the 20. That's what I'm doing. But they have to add up to 9. So the one that's going to add up to 9 is the 4 and the 5. What does this positive 20 tell me? That they have to have the same sign. They're either both positive or both negative. To add up to 9, I'm going to go plus plus. Here we go. We're starting out easy with the x squared. That's going to be x and x. Factors of 18. 1 and 18. 2 and 9. 3 and 6. Of the pairs of factors, which ones add up to 11 or could add up to 11?
2 and 9.
The 2 and the 9. It's positive 18 again. So when the constant is positive, the 2 signs in your factors will be identical. So it must be negative, negative. All right, as you look at 5 and 6, the constant now is changing to a negative number. So things will change slightly. Still a leading coefficient of 1 though, right? So x and x, 1 and 4, 2 and 2. Now, you know that one of them is positive, one of them is negative. How are we going to add up to a negative 3? Can I do the 2 and the 2?
Nope.
No, so it must be 4 and 1. So here, when you're thinking about it, in the OI, this is 4x, and this is 1x. Which one has to have the negative sign so that it adds up to negative 3? 4. The 4 will have to be negative. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. So if that's negative, put the negative here. You could put it on either one, the 4 or the x, but I'd put it on the 4, negative 4, and make this one positive. So there's your factor. I would like you to go through the rest of them on this page, 6, 7, and 8, if you haven't done so already.
Wait, can you help me with number 16?
Try 6, 7, and 8, and then we'll put the answers up here. All right, 6, 7, and 8. 6, 7, and 8. Look at them. 6 and 8, again, the constant is negative. So you know you're going to have a positive and a negative inside. How are you going to add up to positive 1? You're going to use the 3 and the 4, make the 4 positive. How are you going to add up to positive 7? 8 and 1, make the 8 positive. This one, x squared minus 12x plus 36. It has 2 identical factors. Some of you, working on certain things, you may see somebody write it like that. The x minus 6 squared. But that's one of the problems that we did yesterday where we said if somebody gives it to you in this form, write it twice so that you can do your foiling or box method of distribution to get to the quadratic. So when you guys are looking for ways to practice, like factoring, you can write down 2 factors, multiply it out, and then give the person sitting near you the quadratic that's your answer, basically, and ask them to go work it backwards to get to your 2 factors. So if you want to try to make things a little more difficult for each other, you can, switch from positive to negative, and maybe some larger numbers, maybe some more difficult things. All right? That's an easy way to practice.